Welcome back to the HSP Connection, this mini-series of the Meeting of Minds podcast with me, Philippa Robinson.
And me, Robbie Lee. And today we're doing something a little different, or a lot different, than we've done before. First of all, those of you who are seeing the video notice that we've got some more faces here. So we've invited some people to join us for this recording. And we've done that because we are celebrating Philippa completing 100 episodes of her Meeting of the Minds podcast. Incredible. Yay for the pom-poms.
Yeah, shaking my pom-poms.
Fantastic. Which I think is an incredible feat. And I've had the honor to be with you for the last 10 episodes. So just a small slice of what you've been doing. It's been a blast. So what we want to do today is take some time. And Philippa, we're going to be talking to you and be asking you some questions about your journey.
Okay.
Yes. And learning kind of from you how it's been and what you've learned. And then we're going to open it up to some questions from people who have joined us today. And as everything that we do here, we're going to feel our way through it and see how it goes.
Marvelous. What can possibly go wrong?
So far, it's worked out for us.
So far, so good. Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Well, I want to start, first of all, with, as you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm recording my 100th episode. How are you feeling? What's coming up for you?
Yeah, it's funny because in my house, they know I have a podcast, but nobody listens to it. So nobody knows that this is like kind of quite a, it's a bit of an
Milestone.
occasion. Yeah, it is, isn't it? And so it's amazing to be here and have, some of you lovely people here to celebrate. And I remember doing my 50th episode, and I had my husband on actually for that. And I talked to him about what it had been like going along my journey with me, really. And that feels like a long time ago, which is interesting. In a way, it's gone back past in a flash, and in another way, it sort of lasted a while. It's two years. January 2021, I started, and I think to have got here and stuck with it and released an episode I've probably had about 16 weeks off over the last 2 years where I haven't released an episode. And, I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud to still be here and still doing it. Because apparently a lot of podcasts don't get past episode 20. Apparently that's the start. So, I think it's quite a milestone. It's quite an achievement. I'm really proud of it, and I've loved it. So to have enjoyed it, to do something I love and feel proud of it is pretty wonderful, really. So yeah, that's how I'm feeling.
Yay. Yeah. I mean, yes, to feel wonderful and to love what you're doing, to me, that's the sauce. That's everything. Yeah.
And it's a bit unusual. It's unusual for me as well, because that's not how most of my life has been. So it's wonderful, and it's quite unusual as well. So it's sort of feeling into how it actually feels. And I suppose, that will come in the next few weeks when I think, oh yeah, I did do 100. So yeah.
So following what feels good.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Good stuff. I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about what made you start this thing. Like, what was that all about?
Well, I started, we'd been in, where do I start? So I had quite a big breakdown in 2017, and then had a lot of therapy. In the middle of that, I gave up my 27-year legal career, and I didn't really, I gave it up because I was changed. I was different. I didn't know, I couldn't go back. I just couldn't go back to that job and be how I had been before. I didn't know how to be the new me. So I decided actually I wasn't going to do it anymore. So I gave it up, had no plan, no game plan at all. In fact, I've never really had a game plan. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just have a few months to see how I feel. And then as I was sort of coming out of the depression that I'd been in, we went into lockdown and the pandemic started. So that was not going to be a great time to find a job. So I half-heartedly sort of looked for legal jobs and thought, oh God, do I really want to do this? And luckily nothing came of those because, you know, it could be a very different story. And I decided to, well, if not now, when? So I built myself a website and decided I would see if I could get some work as a coach, because that's kind of what I'd always done anyway at work. That was the natural role that I fell into. I did a coaching qualification, set up a website. And I just said to my friend Louisa one day, who actually, when we used to work together, she was my assistant, but she's not there anymore and I'm not there anymore. And we're just really great friends. And I said to her, I'd really like to have a podcast. And she's like, yeah, you know, because as you've all gathered, I can talk. So talking's quite a good medium for me. And it just clicked. And when I found a name and I thought I liked Meeting of Minds, although I talk more about body and spirit than mind, but, you know, I decided I was going to give it a go. And I've realized now, I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, but as I was stepping into this new version of me, it was a way of giving myself a place to be heard, because I hadn't been heard I mean, I wasn't heard during my childhood. I wasn't seen or heard. And I'd spent most of my adult life really not the real me, not being heard. So I think that's why I wanted to talk. You know, all the way, a lot of the time through therapy, I'd have my hand up here. And a lot of that was about not being able to use my voice, my true voice.
Yeah.
So I think that was actually a lot of the motivation behind it, but I wasn't brave enough to just come on and speak by myself. So what I decided to do was interview people who I knew in their 20s and 30s about their decade of being in their 20s or 30s. And I loved it. I loved having these really deep conversations with people. So that was the first 14 or so episodes, I think. Yeah, first 14. And then episode 50 is called Putting My Courage Pants On. So that's what I did. I put my courage pants on and decided to start just talking to see what happened. And I pretty much haven't stopped since.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to do it personally, also because, you know, I know not everyone has access to, you know, the money to pay for coaching or for therapy, because the second series is all about what I learned during therapy. So, you know, I'm not a therapist, I'm a part-trained therapist, but I'm not actually a qualified therapist. And I talked about, you know, generational trauma, the mother wound, the abandonment wound, all the things that I'd learned about during my therapy. And it was that was another reason for doing it. Yes, I wanted to have a place for my voice, but also I wanted to give value. So that was really the why. I wanted people to hear my story and not feel alone if it resonated with them. So that's really why I started doing it. And here we are, 100 episodes on. We're still kind of doing that. I'm having fun with it.
Still kind of. Yeah, still kind of.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And I think it's so relatable, the notion of not feeling like you have a voice. But what you did with that was create a place for yourself. And I love that.
Yeah. Thanks.
What a radical act of rebellion. Like, I will be heard. I love it.
I know. And I've always thought I'm not really rebellious, or like my friend has her company is called the Disobedient Business Company. And I've always said to her, I'm not particularly disobedient, but she completely disagrees. She says I am disobedient as in not doing what everyone expects you to do, or do it the way you're expected to do it. So yeah, I suppose I created my own platform to come and just talk. And I'm so grateful to everyone, you know, the people who listen to it. I can't express that gratitude enough, because without people listening, there isn't really a point in doing it, except I suppose I'm getting something out of it, but I would not have carried on if I'd not had the support along the way, which I have had, which I am very grateful for.
Well, we are certainly grateful that you have carried on. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'd love to know more about, in the process of doing this, like, what have you loved the most about this platform?
What have I loved the most? I have loved having really deep, meaningful conversations with people, because all of the guests that I've had on have they've not all been HSPs. I've had quite a lot of different people on over the last 100 episodes, but they've all been really deep, rich conversations. I think that's largely because of the people I asked, or they asked to come on. They kind of knew me, so they were sort of knew what they were letting themselves in for, I think. And that is the sort of conversation that we would have. I've had quite a few people come on where it's been their first ever, the first time they've been a guest on a podcast, and they've trusted me with that experience for them, and that's been a real privilege. They felt safe to come and do that with me, which I don't take for granted. I think that was very kind of them and brave of them, and I'm glad that they did come and do that. I know other people have gone off to be guests on other podcasts now because they've realised, actually, this is just like having a conversation. So I think that has been the best thing, one of the best things. The other is I have had comments from people who I don't know, who I've never met, who have told me that episodes have touched them. They really have, and that they've made them feel at least that somebody understands, that maybe things can get better, all sorts of comments that I've had. And I haven't had tons of them, don't get me wrong, but I've had a few, and it's always been at the time when I'm thinking, oh, shall I carry this on or not? Because I have there's been a few times when I've thought, why am I doing this? It takes up quite a lot of my time. Shall I carry on doing it? What is the point? We all go through those phases, I think, don't we? Yeah. And it's often been around those times that random comments have popped up. Somebody will DM me on Instagram or something, and or send me an email. In fact, only yesterday somebody sent me an email, not about my podcast, but about another podcast I was a guest on. And she went off and found my email address and sent me an email and said that she resonated so much with my story, and that just made her feel like there was hope. And I was like, oh gosh, that is why I do it, really. Yes. So the good thing is that it has led me now to go on. It's given me the confidence to go on and be guests on other people's podcasts as well and talk about different things. So yeah, it's been amazing, actually. Now I'm talking about it. Yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah, and so incredible that you've given a platform to many of us, and I say us because I was one of the people that you're talking about. It was my first time on a podcast, and you made it so comfortable and so easy. You were a very warm, inviting guest. I felt really safe in your hands, and things have happened since then because of that.
Yeah, you're not going to get away from me now.
I'm good with that. That. But I absolutely know what you mean about knowing that the words that you're putting out in the world, that they are touching somebody, that they're helping someone else feel not so alone, that encouraging them. It's just everything, right? But it started with you being brave and saying, well, I'm going to speak up and I'm going to talk.
Yeah, I suppose it did.
Yeah. I'm done.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm quite good at being brave. I don't know where that comes from, but I'm quite good at sticking my neck out and going, okay, well, I'm just going to do it. And what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen with the podcast would that it would have been a total flop. Nobody would have listened. Nobody listened. It would have been absolutely awful. And you know, I'd have sort of decided not to carry on doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I always tell myself is, okay, that might well happen. But if I don't even start, I'm not giving myself the opportunity of it actually turning into something great.
That's right. And that's such a helpful mindset, because thinking about the worst that could happen, and then what? Okay, so then the podcast didn't go. I mean, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
No big deal, really. I mean, it feels so big in the moment. It feels so big when we're making those decisions. And to your point, but if you didn't do it, then it has no opportunity to grow into something amazing.
Yeah. So I just gave it a go.
Incredible. Yes.
Yeah.
What you mentioned a couple of things that have been challenging, but what's been challenging for you kind of along the journey?
I think I recorded one episode. I think it was about teenagers in the menopause. I think it was that one. Because normally I try to record podcasts. I've done a lot of solo episodes. Actually, I've done more solo episodes now than guest episodes. And I think it's completely okay to show up as you are if you're having a bad day, but most people don't really want to listen to somebody. I think, I felt it was right to turn up when I was in the right frame of mind to be positive. Not that there isn't value in the less positive, but that's how I've always come with energy. I mean, I'm a bright and breezy sort of person usually, but I did that episode because I felt, I said, I'm having a really tough day. I'm feeling really rubbish. There's a lot going on. But actually, I've decided I'm going to come and talk about it anyway. And I did. And as I was talking through it, I've done a lot of processing as I've been talking. And it's quite a few of the episodes. I kind of process as I'm going along, and I go, I'm realizing now what that means. And I am really processing as I'm going along. And that's what I did in that episode. I think it was the teenagers and the menopause one, because that's quite a heady combination. It was hard to do that one because I didn't know how it was going to pan out, and I didn't know whether it was okay to do that, but actually I got quite a lot of feedback about that one, so that was good. A bit like the one that you and I did, Robbie, about, we had a bit of a wobble about releasing the one about structures and systems, didn't we? Because it sort of felt a little bit, should we really be talking about this? So there's been a few where I thought, should I really be talking about this? And then I thought, yeah, actually, I'm just giving my take on something. So other challenges of the time. Yeah, thank you, Jane. Jane just said that one was amazing. Yeah. I think the challenges of the time and the effort it takes, really, it doesn't just magically happen. Luckily, as I decided I was going to do it, a friend's partner who makes music actually said he would produce it for me. So he checks all the sound levels and he makes it sound as good as it can do, which is amazing. It wouldn't, if it was me doing it, I don't know whether it would sound this good. He doesn't edit it much, to be fair, because I decided early on I didn't want it editing. I didn't want ums and ahs taking out, because I know I say actually all the time. I and I ah. But I think that's part of the flow of the conversation, especially when I have a guest. And I'm practicing your favorite thing, Robbie. I'm practicing not being a perfectionist.
Yes. Yeah.
As HSPs, we do have a tendency to want everything to be just right. Mm-hmm. And it has been a lesson in getting it done rather than getting it perfect, to just put these episodes out. I've never re-recorded one. It's just gone out as it is. I mean, I have listened back to it and thought, but yeah, they've gone out as they are. And I don't edit the ums and ahs out. So, I wouldn't say that's been a little bit of a challenge, to own that is what is going on in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like
and
to own the imperfection of it.
Yes. And I have a tendency to ramble. I know I have a tendency to ramble. I like talking. I like thinking through things as I'm talking. And I do sometimes think that I might not be taking that seriously enough, but for rambling or not being really super on it, clear, always got my next point ready. But I decided I'm doing it anyway, because what comes out is what needs to come out in the moment.
Yes.
Rather than it being super polished. I mean, you know, I do sometimes have notes, but I know if I had notes and typed it all out, I'd just read them. So right. I don't really do that. So it's been a lesson. Maybe it's another disobedient or rebellious thing. I don't know. Yeah, I'm quite liking this, actually. This is my new persona as a rebel. I could get used to this.
Yeah. We had some comments from folks. Yeah. Josh said your authenticity just makes you more approachable.
Oh, thanks.
Absolutely. Like, you know, people I don't think would be able to connect with you the same way if you were reading something that you wrote ahead of time. You know, Jane said she loves the ums and ahs. Thanks, Jane.
Yes.
Carol's agreeing. Radical authenticity. Yeah. So
radical authenticity.
Yes. Getting lots of positive feedback for that.
Yes. Oh, and Josh says up there, glad you found your voice. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I'm glad I found my voice too. The intro is no shut me up now, I don't think.
No need to shut you up. Perfect.
Yeah.
So I am curious. You know, you invited me to come do a little mini series, and HSP has been kind of the focus of that, highly sensitive people. And I'm curious kind of why? Why, Philippa? Why are we talking about that so much?
Why are we talking about HSP, being an HSP?
Yeah.
Well, because we're both HSPs for a start. We're all HSPs here. HSPs are amazing people.
Yeah.
But all people
we are
amazing.
Right?
We are amazing. If we just backtrack a little bit, I have interviewed with quite a few people actually who own their sensitivity but don't really want to say that they're an HSP, maybe because they don't know enough about it, or because of the sort of maybe stigma is the right word, around sort of owning your sensitivity. So although you wouldn't necessarily know from the title of the description of those episodes, I know that quite a few of those people are sensitive, highly sensitive. And I had so that was already coming. You know, as part of my journey through therapy, I owned a lot of my childhood stuff. I was really owning the fact that I'm a child of an alcoholic. So I've had quite a few guests on who are children of alcoholics. And those episodes have actually been really popular.
Yes.
And then I sort of didn't want to stay in that area. It was calling me somewhere else. And it was part of that. I mean, I only discovered I was an HSP I forget, with the pandemic, I completely forget time. Yeah, 2-ish years ago.
Yeah.
No, maybe it's 2 years ago. And that has been a radical shift for me. I am not a child anymore, obviously, and all my childhood stuff I know a lot more about. Yes, it still affects me. Yes, I still get triggered by a lot of it. I have a lot more awareness around that. But now what about moving forward? Who am I? And that is where I really began to embrace the sensitivity that I have, and own that. So more and more the podcast guests have been more sensitive, highly sensitive, identifying as highly sensitive, and it's naturally been taking that course anyway. And the people who have approached me to ask to come and be a guest have been started to be highly sensitive. And then obviously through Willow's program, where most of us know each other from, I met you, Robbie, and you came on. And I knew when we recorded our episode that there was something really good going on there between us. I knew. And the guy, and you know, the guy who produces it said, you two have got really great chemistry. So that's that, you know, when he said that as well, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, it's not just me thinking that. And that's when I asked you if you would be interested in doing some more, because I've been wanting to co-host with somebody, have a bit more, you know, not just my voice all the time, but somebody who, I think, to be perfectly honest, I had to find somebody who I could trust, because I have real trust issues. You know, my childhood didn't lend itself naturally to me trusting people. And so I feel that doing that mini series with you was my next step along that journey, and you've really helped me doing that.
Oh, Philippa, thank you. I'm doing the sensitive tearing up thing. Like that really touched my heart. Thank you.
Thank
you.
And now we're going to carry on the HSP connection, aren't we?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you next. Like, what's next for the future of the podcast?
So we're not going to carry it on as part of the Meeting of Minds. We're going to have our whole new podcast, aren't we? We're going to spin off and do the HSP connection ourselves. So together. So, and who knows what's going to come out of that, but I've kind of been looking for this to happen, but not pushing it. And the universe put us together, I feel.
I feel that way too. It's been really an honor. It has, for me, I felt so grateful that you did trust me to come do, you know, a little mini series with you. And actually, I love that that's how we set it up, because in honoring who we are as sensitive people, it could be easy to jump into something and go, yeah, and then, you know, a ways down the line go, what did I say yes to? Like what? And how, you know, and the way we approached it was, let's try this. Let's do a limited series. Let's see how we're feeling. And it was important that we kept checking in with each other. Like, is this feeling okay? I mean, and I've loved that about the process. It's felt really honoring to who we both are. It's been magical for me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, you're right. We did. I kind of like doing, that's how I tend to do things, really. Do a light version and see if I like it. And then if that works, then you can go on and do a full blown. So who knows what our full blown HSP connection looks like. Watch this space. And thank you everybody for your support. Yeah. So we've obviously got some guests going here. Great.
Yeah, we do. And speaking of support, does it feel like a good time to chat with the people that are here, Philippa? Or is there anything else you wanted to say first?
I don't think so. Thank you for asking me all those questions. It's really nice to talk about it, because when we're so busy doing stuff, we don't get the opportunity to really take it in. So it has been it's funny because we didn't plan this question bit until yesterday, and I'd been writing some notes, and then I emailed Robbie and said, I don't suppose would you mind asking me some questions? She said, oh, well, funnily enough, I've already been thinking of some questions. And she gave me some of the questions, and that the notes I'd written answered those questions. So it's funny, we're just, that happens quite a lot with us, doesn't it?
It does. It does. So
thank you for giving me this opportunity to celebrate and really sort of feel into what has been going on over the last 2 years. It's been a really lovely opportunity. So yeah, and I'd, you know, if anybody wants to come, if anybody's got a question, anybody wants to come and say anything, you are more than welcome. Yeah.
And I just want to again thank you, Philippa, for being brave, for having the audacity to create a space to share your voice, you know, to create a platform for other people to have conversations with you and to share what's meaningful for them in the world. And now, you know, we're building this platform to really help HSPs feel good about who they are in the world and celebrate who they are. And that all started from you. And I'm really grateful.
Oh, thanks. And I've just realized you asked me a question and I didn't answer it. Why are we all here talking about HSP? Why are we talking about HSPs? And that is because really we want to help HSPs own the wonder, the beauty, the strength that gifts, that gift brings. And you know, the 20 to 30% of the population, there's a lot of us out there, and you know, I should imagine there's plenty more like me, and who didn't know until I was into my 50s that I'm highly sensitive, and now it's like, great, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. So yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to spread the word.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
and empower HSPs to own the amazing, awesome people they are.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting some lovely comments.
We are.
Josh said, you both have the perfect combination of compassion and courage. It's incredible. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Jane. Oh, Jane has a question. You've already shared some really magical moments. Any more to share with us? More magical highlights where you knew the universe had your back on this? Oh, that's a great question.
Oh, that's a really good question. I think right at the beginning, when my producer sort of just appeared, that was, I was like, oh, okay, because I was quite prepared to do it myself, because this is hosted on Anchor, which makes it quite easy for you to do it yourself, but it would nowhere near have sounded as good as it does, because it would have been, you slot, like, you know, you have your intro, then you have your episode, then you have your outro, and it doesn't blend it together beautifully like Jay does for me. So that's that was one moment. I felt during the first series where I was talking to people, I was thinking, do you know what, I can actually do this. So and what I tend to find is, and I do this when I'm coaching clients as well, it's funny that it always comes round in just at the right time. It comes back to where we started, or a very important point that we that we made, and it just comes back, and it's like, oh, okay. And that's what was happening in all these conversations. They were really coming together and pulling themselves together in a really easy way. And I was like, this is strange. How is this happening? But anyway, I'm going to go for it. So I think it was that feeling building that made me feel, okay, I think I can carry on doing this. I think there's something here to carry on working with. I think when I went into series 3, I decided to talk to people who are either creative, an HSP, or a child of an alcoholic, because those are the 3 things that I suppose I was identifying as at that time. I'd just written my book and decided actually I was creative after all. Having been told I wasn't a lot. I know that's a familiar story. Yes, I'm a child of an alcoholic, and yes, I'm an HSP. And that really felt like it took a different turn as well, because in talking to those people, I was owning more of myself. This has really been a journey of self-discovery, or sort of finding out more about those things I'd already discovered. You know, and really sort of firming up those parts of me, perhaps, and giving more space for those parts of me to be. And then when I got friendly with Robbie and Robbie came on, that felt like a whole other light bulb, and like, oh, okay, we can start doing something different now. So I'd say those were probably the main moments.
It's beautiful. I know from my own experience, it just felt so easy talking to you. And as y'all are well aware, I am a recovering perfectionist. And so, you know, knowing what I'm going to say and having it all, and, you know, I can really get in my head about stuff. And I don't when I'm with you. Like, I mean, I work on that a lot anyway, but it's been so easy just to sit and be real together. And that for me has been like a marker from the universe. It's like, this is easy. Follow what's easy. Follow what brings you joy. Follow that energy. Instead of, like, everything doesn't have to be hard. There's so many hard things, right? But when you find something that just flows and is easy, it's like, oh yeah, I want to spend time with this. This feels good.
Yeah, and you're so right. And I have kept it. I've tried to keep it easy, easy, but still like fitting my why, I suppose. And I know when we started recording, you were a bit horrified that I used to turn up without notes.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
But
and
then,
I was like, it'll be fine. I said to you, I promise you it'll be fine. We'll just do it and we'll just talk.
Yeah,
And we
like,
did.
Okay. All right. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess you've been doing this a minute, but
yeah. I remember you kept saying, okay, I trust you. Okay.
I did.
But about 2 or 3 episodes in, you were thinking, oh, actually,
like,
this is okay.
I don't need notes. This is fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, we do some notes, don't get me wrong, but not that many.
We don't script anything, that's for sure.
No.
I think people are aware of that. I think that's very obvious. Yeah. Carol says we can feel how real it is, and that is what makes it so special to listen to you both. Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you. Because I do sometimes have that. When the doubt creeps in, it's about, do I sound clever enough, or do I say, and it's not but it's more about actually what is this podcast about. And for me, it's much more about people hopefully seeing a bit of themselves in it and not feeling alone, and I don't know, maybe a bit of inspiration somewhere along the line. Like that would be quite nice. So
yes, beautiful. I would love to hear if anyone wants to share, have there been episodes that resonated with you, or something you remember that was said, anything that has stuck with you? We'd love to hear about that. Anna said you can't script humor, and you two have a lot of fun together.
We do.
We do. We genuinely do. We have a ball.
Did anybody want to say anything?
Carol has her hand. Okay, let me unmute you. One moment. Okay.
And Jane, I've seen your question. We'll come back to that in a moment.
Carol, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I just wanted to take a quick moment too to say how grateful I am to you, Philippa. When you talk about how you have your own honest voice and you wanted to create something that you could show HSPs how we can just be ourselves, you were the very first person I ever talked to about being an HSP. When I started in the coaching program where we all met, my very first coaching session was you. And you were so warm and so kind and so welcoming. And then 2 days later, I had Robbie. And who knew that, look, fast forward, here we are all together. It's incredible. And I love listening. I bring you guys on my walk all the time. And like a lot of HSPs, we don't like to drive, especially on freeways or crazy streets. And so I bring you along in the car too, and keep me company and help keep me feel safe. And it's when you listen to your podcast, it's just like when we talk in real life. I mean, it is real life. That's what's so special about it. And I know, Philippa, when you talk about how much Brene Brown's work has helped you, and braving the wilderness and all that, that has just been so inspiring to me. But also, I think you're just as brave as Brene, and you keep it real just like she does, and so does Robbie. And I just wanted to say also how grateful I am, because you're such an inspiration to me. You gave me the courage to start. I'm working on my own podcast, and my very first guests were you and Robbie. And I picked a day when my daughter was going back to college, and I have empty nest syndrome. And I knew I'd feel very vulnerable that day. And I thought, who would I want to spend my time with? Philippa and Robbie, and hooray, you were available. So your generosity knows no bounds. You are so kind and caring, and you are too, Robbie. And you can feel the respect and the love and the braveness between the two of you, and that's what makes it such a treat to listen. And I want to give other people a chance to talk, but my favorite episode was when you talked about boundaries. I've listened to it multiple times, and when we have more time to talk, that what you shared, the poignant sharing about your mother, I also created the same boundary with my mother. So I went through that really difficult doorway of having to make a permanent boundary around somebody that wasn't supportive. And when we get to the other side of that, it is unbelievable, because we're giving ourselves self-love and the boundary of what we need as HSPs. So I just wanted to thank you for that brave sharing as well, because that's not an easy thing to talk about. And you guys talk about the scary things and the good things and the wonderful things, and I can't wait to tune into more. So congratulations on 100 episodes, and thank you so much for letting me be a part of it.
Well, thanks, Carol. Thank you for sharing all that. Thanks.
It's lovely.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Philippa, I just muted you on accident.
Well,
My
that's one way of
apologies.
shutting me up.
It was not intentional.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm noticing the time. Do you want to take one more question?
Well,
And then
yeah, we can do. Does anybody else? We've got Jane's question that I can come back to. Does anybody else have a burning desire? Oh, Josh says, do you get the sense that high sensitivity is starting to be discussed more in the news and media? If so, where do you think that trend might lead in the future? Wow, great question. I do think, now whether, I'm always a little bit dubious as to whether it's because it's more on my radar, that's why I'm picking it up more, but I do think so. And funnily enough, just yesterday I emailed somebody about something, and I mentioned in my podcast, and she came back to me and said, oh my God, that's so amazing. My 12-year-old daughter is highly sensitive. So it's really amazing to find your podcast. And I just said to her, well, how wonderful that you are embracing your daughter's sensitivity and that you're nurturing that. And, you know, and how, you know, I said some words to her about it, but I think the more I'm talking about it, this is for me, the more I'm talking about it, the more other people go, oh yeah, I'm highly sensitive. Oh yeah, I am. Yes. So it's like, because I'm being open about it, they're opening that, you know, they're opening up and telling me what they think. And the more of us who do that, I think, the more we're giving, not necessarily permission, but we're giving people the opportunity to go, oh yeah, I'm highly sensitive too as well. And we can talk about it. Yeah. So, you know, and if you listen to the episode where we talk about structures and systems, I mean, you know, we need HSPs to own their sensitivity and the great gifts and the strength that they have, because we need more people who are sensitive to the collective and sensitive to what is going on to be more in positions of leadership, because I think some of the things that are happening are not good for everybody. So where could it lead? I mean, I think it can only lead to good things, better things. And we need more highly sensitive people to own their high sensitivity. So let's all talk about it.
Yeah, you raised such a good point. Like, as we individually share, we do give people permission to, you know, find out for themselves what's true and share as well. We also creating a dialogue around, it's like sensitivity isn't this terrible thing that we have been told for a long time, right? Like we're putting a different narrative out there, that there is strength in sensitivity, that sensitivity is actually needed for the world. And to answer Josh's question, I do see it becoming more mainstream also. There's an article in the Times, an article in Fast News, oh shoot. Yeah, every time I try to think about a name, it pops out of my head. But yes, I'm seeing it in more mainstream media. And the book Sensitive that is out, you know, I think is an opportunity to get the dialogue out in a bigger way. And I'm excited for it. Like each of us speaking up and saying, no, this is a good thing. Give space for other people to say the thing. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you, in one episode, Robbie, you said it, you know, we're not saying that HSPs are better than other people, but we're not worse either. We're just different, you know, and it's celebrating difference all round, you know.
That's right.
I've got children both with needs that are different. But, you know, we're just an average family, really. And you know, I did an episode actually where I was talking about them, that they're my greatest inspiration, really, because they've had to own their differences in the way that they have difference, which has really helped me own mine. I mean, they're different. They're not HSPs. One of them, I'm not quite sure. One of them isn't, I'm sure about that, but I'm not so sure about one of the others. But I've got one who's got dyslexia and the other one's got mild cerebral palsy. So, you know, and so there's difference all around. We're all different. What I want to know is where all these in bunny ears normal people are, because there aren't any. I think there are more of us with a difference than there are without that difference, when you add all the differences up. So why can't we just all be ourselves?
Yes. Why can't we all just be ourselves
and embrace difference in all of us and just be ourselves and be a lot happier? Sorry, that was a little rant, as I am prone to. Yeah. Sorry, I can't remember what we were talking about there. I just went off on one.
It's all right. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. Anna says, my calendar message for today says perfectionism is overrated. Focus on being you.
Yes. Love that.
Yeah. Exactly. Which is, what I was just saying.
Fortune magazine. Yeah. It has the new book, Sensitive. Yep. By Jen and Andre. Yes.
Yeah. And as Josh says, we're all wonderfully different. Yeah. And as Carol says, that could be awesome on a t-shirt. We'll have to have t-shirts with
we gotta get some merch going.
Wonderfully, we keep talking about merch, don't we? Okay, and Josh, you had a question that you, in case you couldn't come, that you asked me about parenting sensitive children, or sensitive parents with non-HSP kids, or the other way around. And I think actually what I just said about us all embracing our difference is actually what's really important there, and us talking about it more. But I think what we'll do is, rather than carry on now, because we've been going on for quite a long time, I have totally taken notice of that, and we'll do an episode on that, I think. But episode 54 with Suzanne, she said in that episode, and it stuck with me all along, that I think it's called Don't Ignore. It's not Don't Ignore. I can't remember the title of the episode, but it's all about, for non-HSP parents with HSP children, it's about embracing that sensitivity. It really is, and seeing that as a strength, as a superpower, as a gift, not feeling for yourself as a parent that you want your child to toughen up or be like all the other kids, because they're not like all the other kids. They are different, and they are wonderful in that difference. And it's about embracing that, is what I would say as a really quick answer. But because she talks about that episode, and she feels that her parents cocooned her a little bit as well, because going back to what Robbie said, being sensitive does not mean weak, does not mean we can't do stuff. It absolutely does not mean that at all, because we're bloody awesome. So bloody awesome in my great northern accent. Yes. So I think you do have an HSP empath daughter, don't you, Carol? I think that might be us done. Do you think? Anybody? Oh, we didn't answer Jane's question. Let's just go back.
What are you most looking forward to with the podcast in the future? And I think that would be a great ending point too.
If that doesn't feel too not going with the flow. So I don't have a grand plan. I'm not really a plan. I kind of am a planner-ish. I think, where do I see it going? I would just love to, do you know what I'd love? I'd love it to be the go-to for HSP. So when somebody finds out they're HSP, they go and listen to, there's lots of HSP podcasts, but I would love my podcast so far, HSP Connection with Robbie, to be one of the go-tos for people to go and listen, to take to get more information and to learn more about the trait. I'd love it if Robbie and I got invited on other people's podcasts to go and talk about high sensitivity. That would be amazing. And generally, I just think I want to carry on raising, awareness, and just keep talking about it, because it's really important.
And keep empowering highly sensitive people to own their gifts.
Totally.
Not feel like there's something wrong, but to celebrate.
Indeed.
Like we did today. Super fun to celebrate you, Philippa, and this really large milestone. Truly, it's been an honor to be with you on the teeniest part of this journey, and I'm excited for what's to come.
Excited for the next step. Absolutely. Thank you.
Anna said she'll be back for the 200th. I love it.
Who knows what could happen? That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Thank you, everyone, for coming. really appreciate it. It's been marvelous having some smiley faces here to celebrate with us. And yeah, thank you so much. And Robbie, thank you for sort of leading me through this and helping me celebrate, or helping me put this in place so that we could all celebrate together.
It's been my absolute honor. Thank you all for joining us. We might do this again sometime. It's been kind of fun.
It has been fun. I think we would like to do this more. So yeah, cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye from us.
Thank you for listening to the Meeting of Minds podcast. You can find this podcast in all the usual places. Please tell your friends. Please subscribe. And if you have a moment, I'd be really grateful if you could rate and review, as it helps other people find us and helps me spread the messages of empowerment and positivity that I'm really passionate about. If you want to find out more about me, you can visit my website, www.safeandsupported.co.uk. Until next time, bye.